So before we start tonight, I want to show a couple of quick things and then I'll let y'all go. Is it time yet? Yeah, it's
Yes,
time.
ma'am. I've got it recording.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen quickly. This is relevant to what you're doing tonight, and thanks to Dr. Revis for reminding me last night. I'd completely forgotten. So let me share my screen. Gardner Webb has purchased, or should have purchased for you, two things that will really help you. One of them is Qualtrics, which we'll talk about next week. And so when you log in to Web Connect, over here on the left, you'll see it says in your menu, you'll see Qualtrics sign in. Before we meet again next Thursday, go in there and make sure that you've established your Qualtrics account. You'll have to do it off of your Gardner Webb email, and we'll be learning about that. This is just a survey instrument that we use, make surveying and analyzing our results much more valid and reliable. But so make sure you do that again. Go in and establish your first-time user, establish your Qualtrics account, and then we'll work on that next week. But the thing that Dr. Revis reminded me of, which is really, really good, is when you open up your email and you're in Outlook, if you will look over here to the left along this menu, if you don't have it expanded, expand your menu. Gardner Webb pays for you to have Microsoft Office. So remember, we only accept work in Microsoft Word or in PDF. You can't use any of the other products, Notepad or any of that other stuff. And I have students say all the time, well, I don't have, I don't have that. Gardner Webb pays for that. So you've got PowerPoint over here. If you have to make a PowerPoint presentation like you will for me next semester in 603, you'll have to make 4 big ones of those for your case studies. Got Excel, you've got Word. Now it'll make you do Duo Security. Now that, for those of you who don't know what that is, so if I wanted to go to the Word account for Gardner Webb, I have to set up Duo Security, which means that it'll send me a push on my phone, and you just heard it come through, and I verify that's me logging into my account, and then it goes right in. And but you'll need to establish your account. So thanks again to Dr. Revis for reminding us that if you have problems or you don't have, rather than buy this stuff, Gardner Webb has already paid. You have the entire Microsoft Office suite, which has, again, PowerPoint, Excel, and Word, which you will need in this program. And that's where it is. So it's easy peasy. So thank you for that. I just want to get that out of the way before we go any further. So I'll turn it back over to the people who know stuff.
And Dr. Lamb, before we start with tonight's agenda, just again, you said Qualtrics. Is there anything else that might be on the agenda for next week so they can?
Well, if we can get TaskStream, but if I can get TaskStream, I think I'm doing sysadmin for TaskStream now. So if I get accounts bought, we'll do that. If not, it'll be the following week.
Okay, when out of next week and the next week, when do you?
I anticipate that it will be the first Thursday
EVOS?
in February that I will do TaskStream.
Okay.
Next week, I'm just anticipating Qualtrics.
What about EVOS? You've got
we can do EVOS next week with Qualtrics, because Qualtrics doesn't take that long.
Good. Okay. So they'll get Qualtrics and EVOS next week, and then the week after that will be TaskStream and how to begin setting up your competency folio.
Yep, okay. That is correct.
That sounds like a plan.
That's good enough. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly show you the screen. I want to show you what tonight is going to look like. Okay, we've already brought welcome. We're glad that you're here and glad that you're into your second week. And there I go shaking again, but I don't know what it is. But I'm perfectly okay. Just know that. Dr. Revis is with us tonight. Dr. Hamilton's with us tonight. Dr. Lamb is going to be with us, and he may bring comments at the end, whatever is being said. And then Dr. Crawford will be with us as well. But the whole purpose of this evening is to deal with APA 7th edition. And Dr. Hamilton's going to lead that, and Dr. Revis is going to join her. So we ask that you save all questions until the end. We'll give you plenty of time to ask us questions about anything that you don't understand, but put your listening ears on and take notes. And this is going to be some very, very vitally important information that they're going to share with you related to the writing that you have to do. And we've said before, this is a writing intensive program, and it's important that you get it right the first time. You're going to save yourself a lot of heartaches and a lot of extra work if you will pay attention to these ladies and do what they say do. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Dr. Hamilton, it belongs to you now.
Thank you. Dr. Revis and I are going to tag team on this, and I am now sharing my screen. This PowerPoint can also be found in week 2 of your Blackboard, so that you do have access to this. So we're just going to go through this. It's going to sort of be a little interactive. We're going to ask that sometimes you unmute and see if you can do some error analysis. We may sometimes ask for you to throw things into the chat. So we want you to be interactive on this and do some error analysis so that you can start becoming familiar with APA 7th edition, because this is going to be pivotal to the work that you're doing and to the success that you're going to have. So if you can go ahead and learn some of these really fast suggestions and rules of APA 7th edition, then that's going to help you be more successful in your work and help you not have to go back and do as many revisions. So let's start with abbreviations and acronyms. So if you're going to use something at least 3 times with your paper, and we mean your entire paper, then you're going to want to use the APA for an abbreviation or an acronym. If you don't use it at least 3 times, then there is no need to abbreviate, because it's not going to be used frequently enough for someone to remember what it stands for. So if you use it less than 3 times, you're going to just spell it out. But if you're going to use it more than 3 times and you think, oh, I don't want to write out Parsley Elementary School 3,000 times in this APSL, then the very first time that you use Parsley Elementary School, which is probably going to be in your school profile. In fact, it may be or whatever you're using, it may be the very first thing that you're saying in your school profile. You would say Parsley Elementary School, and then in parentheses after Parsley Elementary School, you're going to put PES. You, therefore, in your paper can just use PES, the acronym, because you have identified that acronym. So just say PES, Parsley Elementary School. Do not fall to what we'll sometimes do and think, oh, I need to write it out again. Nope. Once you've identified it as an acronym, just keep it at that. So that is the way that will look in your paper. Dr. Revis?
Okay, so next would be our levels of headings. And APA is a thick manual. I don't even know how many pages, and you've probably got a copy of it now. We're just hitting the highlights, the things that you will use most in writing your evidence work. So one thing here is the levels of headings. Now, in your template, these should already be there, but you have your first level of heading, and that's, of course, the title of your evidence work. And we're doing right now the APSL. So a level 2 heading would be like your school and community profile. And notice that is title case, which means all of your major words and proper nouns that are at least 4 or more letters long, you're going to capitalize. And then we have section labels. You will have a reference section and you will have an appendix section. And so those are bold and center. And those are most of the things that you're going to use as far as your levels of headings. And next, we have some capitalization. And you will use this a lot when you're starting to describe your, I think Dr. Hamilton, can you go to the next slide? When you are describing your PLC selection, your team, notice that, for example, when you are giving the titles like a math teacher, math department chair, principal, or superintendent, those are not capitalized. And to get any kind of further explanation about capitalization, you would look and refer to APA 7th edition sections 6.13 through 6.21. So a the things that we typically capitalize are not really capitalized in APA 7th edition.
Now it's time for you to assess this text for accuracy. So we want you to look at this, and we're going to give you just a minute to look at it and see how many things you can find in this text that is not accurate. So we'll be quiet for just a minute.
They didn't introduce PLC
Good.
as before using the acronym.
That's right. They used the acronym without. Excellent. Anyone else?
Mr. Lamb, the math teacher, should be lowercase.
Correct. Great. Anyone else?
I'm not sure, but is the heading, the title PLC selection, is that in the correct spot?
Well, great question, but I will tell you that that S in selection should be capitalized. And that will be right. That will be correct for you in your template.
As recommended by Bacani 2015, there should be the name before the 2015. The citation, yeah, right there.
Okay, so this is the author, and this is an in-text citation. And so what are you saying?
It should have his name, if I remember correctly, in the citation quotes. And then I believe it should be the page number. It's been a while. I do MLA more.
Your brain is connecting well. So so we can in the text use the author's last name. Now down in the reference section is going to be the last name and first initial. So that's where you're getting that. And the page number, good thought about that, is for a direct quote only. So since this one doesn't have a direct quote, it's okay right here. This is an in-text citation. But your brain is making good connections, and we're going to talk about some of those things in a few minutes, but your brain's making great connections. Good for you.
Should there be a comma after 2015, the parentheses?
Well, you can. You most certainly could put a comma right there.
What about the names of the other people on the committee?
Yes. I'm going to say, and Dr. Revis, speak up. I think English must stay capitalized. Do you agree with that, Dr. Revis?
Yes, English would be the only one capitalized there in that string of different teachers.
And
Well, I was also thinking about the fact that the subjects obviously don't need English does, but they didn't name the proper name of the instructors.
yes, and that always helps make your PLC selection section more descriptive and more thorough. So that always helps. That's a great point.
So that brings me to a question. Is it not necessary to add their name? Or obviously it looks better and we get a better feel of it. And as you mentioned, it's more specific, but is it a requirement?
Not a requirement.
Oh, okay.
But I would suggest
Interesting.
that you do that, or if they don't want their name in there, some kind of a pseudonym for their name, just because that adds specificity. And it also allows you the opportunity for that section to be able to tell more about that person. Like they have a master's degree, they have a doctoral degree, they've been teaching for 27 years, they've been teaching for 12 years, that kind of thing.
Sharon, a lot of people when they get to that section, and if they don't want to put the person's name there, they'll say teacher A, or they'll say, that they can say PLC member 1, PLC member 2. You can identify them that way and then begin to be more specific with who PLC or teacher 1 is or whatever.
Okay, thank you for that. For as far as I was thinking, I felt like there would be no reason not to put their proper name.
And a lot of people do.
Okay, thanks.
So looking for the rest of that last paragraph, look for capitalization issues. Do you see any more capitalization issues?
The last sentence.
Principal,
The last
academic coaches. Principal, look like it needs to be lowercase.
department.
And
coach.
mental health.
Correct. Academic coaches, teachers, principal, department chairs, all of those would be lowercase. What about in the sentence right above that? Anything wrong with that sentence?
Yeah, I was wondering if charter schools.
Charter schools.
Case because that's not a name of a specific school. Correct.
What about mental health?
That also would be lowercase. Mental health professional, mental health and health service professional would also be lowercase.
What about the number 37?
We're going to get to numbers in just a moment.
Okay.
If you'll hold that thought. You guys are being very specific. Good job.
They are doing great. Yeah.
Dr. Hamilton,
So I
somebody
have a
asked
question too,
about-
just for clarification. If we listed, for example, the health service professional, if we listed that person's proper name, I guess I'm hung up on the names. If we listed their proper name, that of course would be capitalized like Dr. Lamb's name is, but the health service professional words would not be capitalized. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is
Okay,
correct.
great, thanks.
Somebody asked Dr. Hamilton about like high school credit classes like English 1, and that again, that would be capitalized.
It's English.
Yes.
Okay, what if it was like math 1?
I think that is a proper noun. So yes, that would be, and it's a specific name of a course.
What if it was biology 1? I'm just asking.
Yes.
Okay, so you get the point. Okay, thank you.
We need to make, and we haven't discussed this yet, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. Going to be indented 1/2 inch. These paragraphs are indented 1 inch. How do I know that? That's a weird thing that I know because I've looked at it too much, and nobody in their whole world should ever have to know these things by just looking. But these are a 1 inch indentation, and there should be a 1/2 inch. And so know that as well. Your paragraph should be indented 1/2 inch. All right, so on to the next thing. They in APA 7th edition is a singular pronoun. That's hard to understand. That is like, it doesn't sound right. So instead of she is, they is a singular pronoun. So we're going to go ahead. So if anybody needs to use that as a singular pronoun, it's there, and it's acceptable in APA 7th edition. It's certainly a paradigm shift. It doesn't always sound right to us, but that's what it is.
You're gonna make us not use that word.
I don't it's only used as a singular pronoun? Like we can't use it as plural?
No, it's still a plural pronoun as well, but they have included it as a singular pronoun as well now. It's still plural.
Okay. Yeah.
This
that makes
is in
sense.
addition. So you can use they instead of he or she is basically what that's saying. All right. APA 7, go ahead. 7th, you're going to refer to yourself in the first person. We did not do that in APA 6th edition. And so in APA 7th, we do refer to ourselves in the first person. Now, please do not confuse this with a personal narrative. You say, I researched PLCs, that is fine. You don't want to say, in my school, our PLCs are from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock every day, and we don't have any kind of structure. This is not what this is. This is not a personal narrative. This is just referring to yourself in first person. So you would not say like the candidate researched, which is what we used to do in APA 6. And you may still see some of that in our materials that we may not have, we may have overlooked it and missed it. But you do refer to yourself in first person. Dr. Revis, do you want to talk about active voice?
And so we always want to write, excuse me, in active voice. And that means the subject must be doing the action. So when the subject comes after the verb, it's often passive. So just keep that in mind as you're doing and completing your writing.
That really helps with that first person.
You go ahead with figures, Dr.
Okay. So everything that you put in is like a chart, a table, a graph, or whatever. You're going to call it a figure. It can be a chart, it can be a table, it can be a picture, it can be a graph. This is going to be a figure. So figures must come in sequential order. So the very first figure you have in your whole APSO, of all 5 tasks of your APSO, will be figure 1. Your next one will be figure 2. Your next one will be figure 3. So you need them in the location in your paper where you want them sequentially. So they are all assigned a number, figure 1, figure 2, etc. And the numbers are based on the sequential order that they are found in your paper. So under the number, figure 1, you're going to write the title of the figure. So each figure must have a title, and that title is going to be written in italics. The title should just be a brief, clear little synopsis of, hey, this is what you're looking at right here. Here's an example of a figure. So figure 1 would be left justified. So it's going to be on your left margin. It's not going to be indented. It's not going to be centered, and it's going to be in bold. Figure 1. The title is not going to be in bold, and it's going to be in italics. And I have titled this one Sample Figure Title. Then you're going to have your figure. And beneath your figure in italics, you're going to write the word note, and you're going to put a period. And then you're going to write something descriptive about what we are seeing in this figure. So this is 3 things, 2 things on top, 1 thing on bottom. Left justified. All of this is left justified. Figure 1 in bold, figure whatever number in the sequence in bold. Beneath there, take away the bold, in italics, a brief title. Beneath your figure, you're going to have in italics, note, period, and then you're going to write a little note that describes what we see in the figure. There's 3 things you have to do every time you have a figure. So here's an example of a figure. Is it labeled correctly? Why and why not? So I'm going to give you just a minute to look at this and tell me what we need.
Well, it doesn't have figure 1 or 2.
At the top. It has it at the bottom. It doesn't have it at the top. It has to be at the top. That's right. Mm-hmm.
The title needs to be left justified.
So
No note.
And there's no note.
There's no note, correct?
It's not left justified at the top.
That's right. It's not left justified at the top. Very good.
Italicized.
Yeah.
Justified
Figure
is
1 has an
something.
italic when it should be at the top in bold. And let's just say that kindergarten transition program.
The title needs to be italics.
Yes, and it needs to be at the top underneath the bold figure 1. Correct. Yay. And then we're missing the note at the bottom. Very good. Great work.
So here are some preferred singular and plural not. But remember, on the left-hand side, those are the singular forms of the words, the plural form on the right-hand side. So when we're talking about an appendix as a whole, or as an entry, excuse me, you're going to say Appendix A. But if you're talking about several, it would be your appendices, and so on and so forth. Datum is the singular word, and data is your plural word. And you may use that, maybe not so much in this first task, but as you start looking at other tasks, you will. All right, now we're to
But
in-
Dr. Rev, it's Dr. Hamilton. Before you go back there, Dr. Hamilton, can you go back to figures? I want to ask a question. If once they complete their work and they're doing their appendices and they're putting the figures that they have done in their appendices, can they put two figures on the same page in their appendices? Can you?
Well, if my figure is appearing within the narrative, then it would not appear in your appendices.
Right. But if they put figures in the appendices to show reference, would they put two figures on the same page?
No, each figure would need to have its own page.
Okay, that's okay.
That's correct. I just Googled it. Do not put figures and tables in the same appendix. That's what it says.
Okay.
Google.
And just remember that what Dr. Revis and Dr. Hamilton have just told you about figures. Those three things you've got to remember are going to be consistent throughout all 6 evidences that you do. This will never change. Once you get it right the first time, then you're going to do the same, repeat it throughout all of your work. So, get it right the first time. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, any little thing, little details and nuances to just go back and help reiterate always helps. Thank you so much.
I thought Dr. Hamilton was quizzing us. I mean, Dr. Stebbin was quizzing us, Dr. Hamilton.
So too, that's what I went to.
Well, I kind of sort of was, but I just wanted to make sure that I thought that was it, and it just came to my mind. So anyway, go ahead.
You are breaking up, Dr. Stedman. Or I'm
I said, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm through.
Okay, so I want you to pay really closely attention as we go over these in-text citations, because you're going to use those in task 1. You have a research section, and you have to have at least three resources. So you're going to use this all the way through the program. You've got to know how to do it, and it's pretty simple, folks. First of all, quotes. When you are using the exact text from another source, then it's defined as quoted text, and you should always put it in quotation marks. And the in-text citation must have the page number. So in APA, the format is always author, date, and only if it's a direct quote would it have a page number. Or if you've pulled a resource or reference from an article, online article, you would put a paragraph number. So only when it's direct quotes do you need to have that page number or paragraph number. We encourage you to limit your direct quotes. And I think Dr. Hamilton spoke to this last week, because when you're using direct quotes and you're trying to tag it onto a sentence or make a point, it gets real wordy and awkward. Your sentence structure becomes very awkward. And when you're using somebody else's quoted text, it's not your own words. You're just copying somebody else's work. So we like for you to get to where you can paraphrase and summarize. Now, paraphrasing and summarizing, those are higher order thinking skills, and you get better at it just by doing it. But that's what we like to see most. But you still must provide an in-text citation for another person's ideas. So the difference here, you still see Davis, author, date. And then if you have another author who stated something very similarly, it would have a semicolon and then that person's last name, date. Do you notice we do not put in authors' first names ever? Only their surname, their last name. All right. And then if you have a long quote, which we discourage you from having, you should use a block quote format where you're indenting in the right and the left margin.
So when you have in-text citations, so these are the citations in the middle of the text that you are writing, in the middle of your narrative. If you have 1 to 2 authors, there's no change from APA 6th to 7th. So you would write, like this is an in-text, this is a parenthetical citation because Earl, 2013 is all inside the parentheses. The same thing for the one beneath there. You're going to write, when it's parenthetical like that, Overlies and Matheson, 2019, page 45. That was a direct quote because we have the page, right? And so when it's inside the parentheses like that, you use the ampersand, not the word AND. If it is not a parenthetical citation, if it's not inside the parentheses, then you're going to write out the word AND in a few minutes too. But so when it's 1 to 2 authors, you list them both. When it's 3 or more authors, the author's first name gets written and et al. For each in-text citation. So Black et al., McCarthy et al. So the moral to this story is when you become a published author, make sure that your name is first so that you can have your name in the in-text citation. So that's the moral to that story. 1 to 2 authors, you're going to list them. 3 or more authors, you only list the first one.
And notice with the et al, the little word et, there is no period behind it. The period is behind the all. Now, that is what Latin for all-encompassing or something like that means, and others, I believe what it is. After all, and then the comma before your date.
Yes, and others. That's correct. The Latin term, which means and others. Correct. We're going to pull out our letters training here. It's Latin.
And no, can you go back to that previous slide? So there's no, like for 3 or more, there's no comma after Black?
Nope. Just Black et al., Black and others, period, comma, year. Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. It's those little nuances that we miss when we're going through this that people don't notice. And then when they go to do it, they go, oh, I don't know, So those are great questions. Keep them coming.
A comma would be very, very natural for me.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
So here is a negative exemplar and a positive exemplar. You wouldn't put all these people and list them. You would just say Taylor et al. 2018. Rolling on. That's it. Now, of course, this is not a direct quote because we don't have a page number. All right, so here comes another analysis for you. Let's look at this and unmute if you see something you think should change.
Early Pianta, Taylor, and Cox. That's too many people. Just
That's
put
right.
et al.
That's right. So that should say Early et al. Period, comma, 2001. Correct. So I'll just point out that Barnett and Taylor, that the ampersand is correct because it's inside parentheses.
If this is a paragraph, it's not indented.
That's correct. And how far should it be indented?
Half inch.
A half inch. That's right. And I don't know that there's anything else in there. I think that was all. We were just trying to point out that.
Hamilton, we pointed this out on Tuesday night, and you may have as well. A lot of people have built-in programs, APA programs on their computers that they think will check everything. don't count on those programs to check your APA and do it correctly for you. It'll inevitably get the periods in the wrong places. So do not count on that.
Thanks, Dr. Stedman. Okay. References and appendices. So your reference section comes at the end, and you can do each task, like task 1, and do your reference and appendices, and then task 2 separately, or you can just have it as a running list. But that will be, and at the end, if you did them separately, you have to merge all them together. Your references do come in alphabetical order. And so that is next to last. And then your appendices, all the appendix A, B, C, and all that comes at the very, very end. And they are also listed in sequential order as they are found in your paper. Your first appendix will be your email to your principal asking for permission to establish a PLC. And then your principal's response that you have permission to do that. That will be your first appendix. So you'll find in the Gardner Webb Library a lot of helpful things for you. They have references to APA formatting rules, but in your reference section, you must create a hanging indent. So here's a little video that you can watch. I'm going to stop share for just a second because I'm not sure that when I shared, I put on there to share sound. So I'm going to go back to that. And then tell me if you share sound, share. Tell me if you can't hear it.
This video will show you how to create a Microsoft Word. Begin by highlighting your citation. In the paragraph section of the Microsoft Word toolbar, click the expander icon to pop up the full paragraph editing box. In the second section, click the drop-down menu under the special heading. And click OK.
I don't know how to stop it. It's just having a fun time on its own, and I tried to do it. We're going to try that one more time, and we'll see how it goes this time. Share sound, screen, and we're going to try. I'm not going to make
this video will show you how to create a hanging indent for a citation in Microsoft Word. Begin by highlighting your citation. In the paragraph section of the Microsoft Word toolbar, click the expander icon to pop up the full paragraph editing box. In the second section, click the drop-down menu under the special heading. Choose Hanging and click OK. Now your citation has a hanging indent.
So there you go. So that's in Gardner Webb Library. And in addition to that, that is also, and here we go again. It's in the Gardner Webb Library for you. And it's also in this PowerPoint presentation that is uploaded in week 2 for you. So you have access to that, and you can watch how to create a hanging indent all you want. So that is there for you, and it's also available on the Gardner Webb Library page for you. Dr. Revis.
Okay, so the most frequent things that you have to deal with will be your in-text citations that we've been talking about, and those would either be parenthetical or with parentheses or narrative. We call them narrative citations. Typically, when you start at the beginning of a sentence with an author's name, like Alexander, parentheses, 2018, decided that PLCs were da 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 da. That's called a narrative citation. So we also, for every in-text citation, you have a reference for that. And references have their own unique way to be formatted. You will see the author's last name, comma, first and middle initial, parentheses, date, and then a period. Now, notice that the next phrase, which is highlighted in yellow, and I'm sorry, it's blurry to me, but I have old eyes, so just excuse me. The yellow highlight would be the title of the article. Notice the only words that are capitalized would be your first word, past, and then after a colon or semicolon, the first word after a colon or semicolon. That's it, and a period. The green highlighted text is the title of the journal article, and a journal. And it, of course, is a proper noun, so it carries title case. And then you have, help me here, Dr. Stedman and Dr. Hamilton. I guess that is, I
That's
can't
the
remember.
journal, issue, volume, issue, page numbers, and in this case, a link to it.
Right. You end it with a DOI if it has that. Okay. And notice the hanging indent. All your references will be double spaced. You don't make two double spaces in between your reference entries. Your whole reference section will be double spaced. And you can tell when you are going from one citation to another because you're going to have the right justified author's last name.
All right, so we want some feedback. Let's look at all of this. Who can give us some feedback about what might need to be corrected?
There's no hanging indent on the first one.
Yeah.
Not
Correct.
double spaced.
Correct?
Wouldn't the K be capitalized in that too?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. Now, maybe so. So let's talk about that. K is usually not, but it is after a colon. So yeah, probably so. I think you're right about that. Mm-hmm.
And professional is misspelled.
Yes, it is. Now I left that in there on purpose because the red squiggly line, and we talked about that the other night too. Anytime you see a red or blue squiggly line, please say, whoa, why is that there? That is just such an easy thing for you. And we always get papers that have all these red and blue squiggly lines, and it wasn't that hard to correct a misspelling. It's just a typo, but it's not that hard to correct it.
References isn't centered up.
That's right. References needs to be centered, correct?
What else?
Parentheses around two.
What else is
Leadership community be lowercase?
Do what?
Shouldn't all be capped.
Leadership through community be lowercase?
Yes, it would be. Leadership through community, lower space. Somebody said something about 2015.
It should be in parentheses.
Yes, it should be a parentheses with a period after it.
And also the K through 12, the letter K should be capitalized, right?
Yes, yes,
Part of
correct.
the title.
Yes, was this right after the colon?
And references, I don't think it should be caps lock. Well, caps lock, all
I
in caps,
think
right?
just the R, Dr. Revis.
Yes, yes, just the R.
With that second one that is hanging, would engaging students and reading be capitalized?
No,
Okay.
that is the title of the article. Remember, you only capitalize the first word and the first word after a colon or semicolon.
Okay.
There's too much space between those lines, though. There's an extra space in between there.
It looks like there is, yes.
Oh, that first one doesn't look double spaced.
It's
It's
not.
supposed to be. Okay, so the first one's wrong then.
Different, yep, for sure.
The 46 in the second one looks like it's still in italics.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Mhm. The volume.
And I don't, let's see, it might need to be. Yes, I think that part still is in italics. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Made it too big. Good eye.
I have a question because I just for a little clarity, just to make sure. So after like dissertations and theses and how it says available from ProQuest, so there's a period behind order number, 100 whatever. There's a period after that, parentheses. Should there be another period after available from ProQuest Central, the dissertations and theses?
Yes, there needs to be a period at the end of both of those. Mhm.
Okay. And then so I'm gonna ask the same for the second one. After that 10, should it be a period as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
I think after the T on JT period, I think there should be a comma right there.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask because it just stands out to me. That order number, what is that?
No idea.
Okay,
It has to do something about when you go into ProQuest and you're searching for that article that you can put in there. There has to be a search for that. It's the number assigned to it by ProQuest. So you can go into ProQuest and search by that number.
So should that be a part of our reference, like how it is in here? Even though
If you got anything from there, you would put that in there like.
Okay.
Should the number be abbreviated so it's capital N lowercase o period, or should it be capital N superscript O?
That is
Period.
that is the way it was in the real reference. So I'm going to say that is the way that is. I would say to you the purpose for the reference section is so that if someone wants to go to that primary source, they can find it. So that order number, I think, would be important for finding something in ProQuest.
And guys, I will also say, the main thing that I look for here, this is just me personally, I want to see it double spaced. I want to see a hanging indent. I want it in alphabetical order. I want it author, date. I want to see the title of the article. And I will nail you if you capitalize all those words. And, when you get down to volume and page and issue, I have to look it up. But you will, there's a pattern to all this stuff, and you will get it. You may have to go and look something up, but your most common things, if you're using a lot of journal articles, it's going to be a pretty easy pattern for you to follow.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I would suggest that once those things that are going to be common, make you some cheat sheets and keep with you, on note cards somewhere that you can refer back to them in because you're going to have to constantly go back, and instead of having to dig in the book all the time, find you a place that you can keep those things that you're going to have to consistently go back to.
And I think APA Style Guide also has some really good tables and charts about how to cite parenthetical, in-text, and citations and references, depending on whether it's a journal article, a book, something that just has a DOI and all that kind of stuff. They have some really good charts that will show you the patterns. So, do a little research on that. And like you say, make yourself a cheat sheet or print off those little charts, and that will really save you some time.
Okay, so here's the answer to the numbers question. 0 through 9 are written in word form. So 0 through 9 word form. So back earlier when the number was 36 or something like that, and someone asked. So because that did not start or end a sentence, that was fine. Written in word form, and you never begin or end a sentence with numerals. So this is what will happen. You'll say, proficiency for 3rd grade reading was 96. or 96. Well, you can't do that because you can't end a sentence with a numeral. So if you're going to have that kind of sentence structure, then you're going to have to write that out. There's probably a better way to formulate your sentences so that they do not. 96% of our students were proficient in reading for 3rd grade. That's probably more about how it would go. So you're not going to start. If you're going to do that, then you need to put NIN, spell the whole thing out. You have to write it out in a word. So that is an important thing. And one other thing with numbers is if you are giving demographics, like the percentage of ethnicity in your school, then whatever the greatest ethnicity is, you start with that. The next greatest goes next. The 3rd greatest goes next, dwindling all the way down to the least ethnicity would be last. So you're always going to list those in sequential order from greatest to least.
I'm sorry, I have a question. In the example format, and exactly the part you were talking about with the ethnicity, in the example, it said 69, then it had the parentheses and not the.
Which example?
The APSL example that we have.
The absolute example? Oh, well, it could be wrong in there. I mean,
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say.
Oh, it could be wrong in there.
Okay, because I was just checking because it actually, because when I was following that one, it
Well,
literally
I appreciate
ended
how
with.
carefully you're looking at everything and analyzing everything.
Well,
Excellent student.
it also in the listing where you were saying going from most to least, it kind of skipped around because it talked about the 2 or more races and there was less of them. And then it mentioned the 69 at the very end. So that's why I was a little confused. So
Well, good for you, but that is
that.
excellent analysis. And so thank you for that. And everybody else, now you know. So I appreciate that so much. Thank you for that.
Okay, so I need to go back and fix that then so that before the parentheses, I don't have a number.
That's before the end. You just don't start or end a sentence with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question. I just was able to get on, so I think I've missed a whole lot, so I have to go back and watch. My demographic information came from the enrollment data from PowerSchool. So with my in-text citation, I said that it came from PowerSchool, and I put the year that I obtained that data, which would have been this year. Could I use PowerSchool as a reference or no?
Yes, you will reference PowerSchool.
Okay.
Dr. Stedman.
Okay, Dr. Crawford had spoke to that the other day. Dr. Crawford, what did you recommend that they do with that? You said something the other day about that.
Well, with respect to the profile, one, make sure that you are citing that, but two, figures that come from state agencies, you can cite, and there's a way in APA to cite that. Just make sure that you're using the most updated data to do that. But like PowerSchool would be an acceptable source to be able to cite from demographic data. NCDPI would be another one. If you're pulling from the school report card, would be another one to do that.
Just to ask, because you mentioned about the most current, I had looked at the National Center when that was an example, and I looked at our report card, but it's for 21-22, not 22-23 yet.
So DPI is notorious for being several months behind on, I mean, think about it, EOGs are done. EOGs are done and at the beginning of June, but we get EVOS data, right around Thanksgiving or Halloween. So make that make sense. So yeah, you can use most updated data, and then you can use what's posted there because that's not your fault, that the agency. hasn't, gotten the 22, the 21, 22 data in yet, but I would check back and make sure that you try to get that as soon as it's updated.
Oh, well, see, I think they won't update it till this school year, which is 22-23 is done. Yeah, 22-23. So right now they're showing 21-22.
Which is what they should be showing.
Oh, okay, so that's the data I've been using, but our actual enrollment has increased since when they had that 21-22 data. So that's why I was trying to figure out, do you want me to switch that based on the Power School enrollment? Because I actually
so it just depends on, so like enrollment is a moving target, always is going to be. So for something like enrollment, you're better off going to Power School because we all know that it updates overnight. But for autopsy data like EOG scores, EVOS data, things that aren't going to change until the next year, then yes, go ahead and use what's in Power School.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, the report card.
So I'm confused. Can you please clarify? Because I'm from one district and the district has its own portal of information. I'm assuming it reports to like DPI, North Carolina report card, and
Yep.
that data has not been updated. So please make it clear to me.
So if the district information is not updated and you know it's not updated,
No, the district data is the most current.
then you know what? Roll with it.
Okay,
Don't overthink it. Roll with it.
got you. Because I looked and checked and it's lagging.
Roll
It's
with
not.
it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So I have just one question. I may have missed this earlier, but I think it was our last meeting last week or whatever, but someone had asked the question about talking about the school profile and the demographics and the ethnic, subgroups, et cetera. And they said that they were going to use Power School. And one of you all said, no, you can't use Power School. It needs to come from school report card. That's what I remember hearing. So now we can use Power School.
That's Tara. That's why I asked Dr. Crawford to speak, because that's what I was referring to.
Oh, okay. And so and that's great. But my question is, if we're using Power School, do we just how do we reference that in our, I mean, I know we'll put parentheses Power School and the date in the actual school profile.
Yeah, what previous students in the past have done and just used, and as long as you have spelled out your school name first, so like I would probably start mine off with spelling out Flat Rock Middle School, and then if I'm going to reference something from Power School, then I would say FRMS Power School, and then 2023 at this point.
Okay, and then when we put it in the actual, on the reference sheet with all of our references at the end, do we have to put the URL where we pulled the Power School data up from?
Yes.
No, you'll look at citing a software in APA style.
Oh, okay.
Software citations, because Power School is a software.
Okay.
So there's a section in APA about citing software. So and look to see how to do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Dr. Hamilton, before you move on from the numbers, and I may have missed this in checking something in the, did you talk about when not to begin with writing, using percentages in beginning sentences? Did you say that?
We said, like, don't say 96%.
Okay, got you. Okay, I just want to make sure I missed you hearing that. Okay, go on. I'm through.
No, thanks for asking. All right, so here is one of the hardest things for me is only one space after punctuation. So many of us in APA 6 used 2 spaces, and so it is only one space after punctuation. So keep that in mind. And then even though there are several different options for APA 7th, for your font, Garden Web Education Department requests that you use Times New Roman 12. All right, see if you can assess this, and Dr. Revis is going to help you with this.
It's starting out with
So the
20%.
20%, yeah.
Okay, if you
It's
could,
more than one space.
I think that's two
That's what you mean.
spaces with Kathy, yeah.
Right, too many spaces,
Shouldn't 2020 be in parentheses?
correct. And what else? Elaborate on that, whoever just said that about 2020. What else right there?
The N shouldn't be there either.
Correct, the end should
First
be there.
name.
What else shouldn't be there? Very good, that's right. It should just say Revis, parentheses, 2020, close parentheses, stated. Okay, this is another issue right here.
You don't have to say the article name, do you?
Correct, yes, very good. Because the
Three
article
should be
name is
spelled
going to
out.
be, the article name is going to be,
In parentheses at the end.
Here's a question. What if Revis has multiple articles that you're citing?
most of the time, their dates will be different.
yeah, the dates would be different according to the publication. And so it's just going to be Revis 2020, Revis 2023, so on and so forth. And if you have two of the same date, you get into the A, B, and C. Let's don't go there. That's too deep. You really should not, somebody I think pointed this out, but we were talking over each other. You really should not, of course, say my first name, just your surname, parentheses 2020, stated. You don't put the title of the article in there. That's what your reference section's for. Just tell what was stated. Now, if I stated it, then I would think that would be in quotation marks. You're setting me up for a direct quote there.
The three should be spelled out.
Very good.
3, yes.
The candidate should say, I am now leading the PLC.
Very good. Very good.
PLC needs to be spelled out.
Assuming that it has not been identified earlier, yes, the first time you would identify it in that first sentence as professional learning communities, parentheses, PLCs, and then you're free to use it again because we've used it 4 times in that one paragraph.
They also skip more than one space after the periods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Data should be datum. Yeah.
Yes, very good eye. Correct. And that's a hard one. And we know that because it says one. Very good. Y'all are doing great. All right. So type in the chat one thing you learned tonight that you're going to commit to consistently applying in your work. Let's see what you put in the chat.
I have another question.
Okay.
I know that in the last meeting, you all said that we needed to do our page numbers, to number our pages. Is there a certain way that needs to be done in APA 7th edition? Should it be at the top, at the bottom, in the middle, a line to the left, a line to the right? I'm just a little bit confused how it needs to be done in APA format.
Without looking it up, I believe it is at the bottom right. But somebody check me on that. Dr. Hamilton, I'm putting you on the spot here. Can we go to the library and show them where these resources are? The APA resources are in our library.
I can.
Top right corner, by the way.
What'd you say?
Top right corner.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Crawford. I appreciate that's what I was trying to pull up. Thank you so much. Okay. So I'll go to the Gardner Webb homepage.
Can you share your screen again for us? There you go.
Thank you. And then we will go to library. And you'll notice here that you can chat offline, email with us. You can meet with a librarian. They have their hours posted. This is your Bulldog One search bar. So anything that you want to search here, you professional learning communities. So there are all kinds of things here that you can look at. So these are all research-based articles that you could use. Of course, you want to go through and determine which ones you think are the ones that you would want to use. If you Google like a journal article or something, you're going to want to use Google Scholar. But I think your primary source for Googling for searching would be here in Bulldog One, where you will have access to journal articles that if you pull them up like in Google or Google Scholar, you will have to pay for. But because you are a student, you will have access to things here that you would not have access to otherwise. Before. So you can just search by like author sometimes if you want to. Well, that's not coming up. Richard DeFore. So you'll have things here that you won't be able to get for free in other locations that you can get here because of your status at Gardner Webb. So that is a good place to go, is to the Gardner Webb Library. Let me see if I can back out of Bulldog One here. That might just keep me in a perpetual, it is a perpetual thing there. Can't get back to the home page. There we go. Okay, so back to the library page. You have all kinds of quick links here, like the citation style, all kinds of things here. You can ask for interlibrary loan if there's a book that they don't have that they can get from another library for you. So there are all kinds of things here that you can access. Research tools. So like tutorial guides is here. Like again, citation style formatting, Google Scholar. All kinds of tools there that you can use as a database that is at your disposal. Check things out, factual, so you don't know about that. And then different things, here's your staff directory and things like that, if you would want to be able to go there and find anything that you need to find at the Gardner Webb Library, the Dover Library.
If you don't mind, click on that link, the citation style.
Oh, sorry, I just went to the wrong.
You just went on by, yeah. Click on that first link there, citation style and formatting guide. It gives you everything you need to know about citations and how to cite, when to cite. At the top bar, you will see, be sure you click on APA style.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead, Dr. Hamilton.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, this gives you everything. I mean, you can get very deep here. For example, how do I cite from journal articles, magazine articles? I mean, that's everything you're going to use. How to format title page, section, tables and figures. Everything that we've gone over tonight, you can find here, just about. In-text citations, there you go.
Yeah. And if you go to that link that's in the PowerPoint that has the hanging indent, it takes you to the page.
Right. So good reference section. And again, you guys are getting pretty deep in APA, and that's pretty impressive to me, because usually we're just worried about numbers and in-text citations, but you're going to have things that fall right in the pattern. They're going to be easy, but you're going to have some things that are not going to fall into that pattern, and you're going to have to look up. You know, please don't, how do I cite this or how do I cite that, unless you have gone to your resources and looked it up, because I'm not a walking APA manual. I'll have to go look it up. So if you don't know it, I'm going to have to look it up. So if you look it up, just like you would tell your students, you're going to, number one, learn it and remember it more than just asking me, because I'm going to have to look it up too.
Right. And all of you, where there will be a lot of you will be doing, I mean, the similar things. I mean, but then every one of you may have something that's unique to you only, you know, based on your research. So, you know, that one, if it's unique to you only, we don't mind you saying, you know, is this okay? I had somebody just send me a message about that. And I told him, I said, well, this will probably be unique to you only. I probably won't see it from anybody else, but that's okay.
All right, so we ask you to put something in the chat that you're going to make sure you do. Use of surname only, remembering rules of APA, hanging indents, the correct formation of figures, APA for various reference types, one space after punctuation, surname, remembering the rules of APA, hanging indents, one space after punctuation. Hanging numbers, figures, one space, writing out numbers, hanging indents. It can be singular. Surnames, one space, active voice, paragraphs, a half inch, not an inch indentation. They, one space after punctuation, APA, surname, one space after punctuation, double spaced references, very good, hanging indents, and your work that you do in your narrative in your on your template is also double spaced. Now there are things on there like directions and instructions that are single spaced, and those are in black on your template. And so because that's the way it is on the template, it does stay single spaced, but your narrative that you write on your template will be double spaced. Don't begin and end a sentence with a number, double space entire reference page. Pay attention to capitalization rules. Datum for one, data for more than one. I'm consistent in doing my work good. APA guidelines do not use numbers at the beginning, right? And still trying to scroll down. Page number, top right, 1 inch margins, APA 7 standard for students does not require running header. Yeah, you don't need that. That was from Google. Okay, that was a great review. Good. All right. Sounds good.
And Dr. Hamilton, just remind them that in Blackboard, there is a section in your class shell called APA format materials. And this recording will go in there as well as the other recording, because even last year we'll archive from the past, but there's materials in there, and we can, if we find other things, we'll add to that section throughout the semester. But Dr. Revis, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Crawford, thank you so much. I think the students have benefited greatly from this. And with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lamb for the benediction.
Okay. In the chat, I put the link to Purdue OWL, which is a free service if you were a college student. It will check your email, and the edu.edu extension on your email will cause you to be able, they won't charge you. And that is a very valuable reference. Purdue OWL, OWL. I put the link in the chat. Also, if you go to YouTube, there's a lot of Purdue OWL. If you're more of a visual learner, I know a lot of folks that are hooked to their phone that are, and if that's you and you like YouTube videos, and I'll be the first to tell you, even as old as I am, I love YouTube videos. That's how I learn all the stuff and the technology that I have to use. I dial up YouTube and I watch videos, and Purdue Owl has a channel and they've got wonderful videos. They're short, they're to the point, they're relevant to what you're doing. I can't recommend them highly enough. They're great. That's a wonderful reference. You've seen the library has a wonderful reference. They normally partner with us, but we're a library in short right now. So we're kind of, our folks are just as good as them though. And so Dr. Crawford said he used YouTube when he was writing his dissertation. Absolutely. There was no internet when I wrote mine though, but we were still using manual typewriters, and that's the truth, unfortunately. And so I guess my closing tonight is this will be a valuable skill, a transferable skill. And we'll talk about this a lot, hopefully through your program. You need to be developing your personal skill tool chest of things that you can do, and learning how to learn, and ever how you learn best. But learning APA 7th, when some of you come back with us in a year in the doctoral programs, and some of you will, you'll be way ahead. You won't have to struggle at all in the doctoral program because everything they do is APA 7, and your dissertation will be APA 7. And if you have conquered and mastered this skill, it'll be a breeze when you get to dissertation time. It'll be wonderful. So this is something that, although it seems negligible at this time in terms of why we're having to do this, I just want to get it on the paper. And trust me, if you'll spend some time with this, it will pay you dividends for a long time to come. Thank you all for being with us again tonight. Next week, I'll talk about Qualtrics. Dr. Hamilton and Dr. Crawford, who I told you are the EVOS experts. I'm just going to say here they are. I'm just going to point to them. I'll do Qualtrics, but they'll do EVOS. They are recognized experts in how to get growth and how to interpret those scores and how you do that. And you need to really pay attention and understand that, because we're going to use that next semester when I teach you how to master schedule a school.
But
EVOS is a
Lamb,
big part of that.
I want you to do that exercise that you always do though before they speak about EVOS, showing the formula.
Yeah, I'll do that. I just tell you how. They'll tell you how to use it. I'll do the calculus behind it.
Okay.
I will show you the calculus. I will pull back the curtain next week on EVOS, and all the questions you've ever had about how EVOS works that nobody will ever tell you, I'll tell you next week.
It's going to blow your minds. I promise you. You think you know EVOS? You wait until Dr. Lamb tells you what he tells you next week. It's going to blow your minds. You're going to know something that nobody else knows at your school. You probably will know more than your principal does on some of this stuff. I can promise you. Some of your principals anyway.
It'll be worth the price of admission next week just for the EVOS material. Trust me on that. And so, but it's stuff that you need to know, and it's going to come in real handy when you start scheduling the school next semester, because it is the fourth of the rationales for school scheduling. All right.
Okay.
I've had the time of my life.
I have too, but I'm going to say this in closing. Dr. Lamb is so old, and I'm right behind him. But anyway, when we wrote our dissertations, we had to write on onion skin paper, and a lot of people don't know what that is.
They had to be typed on onion skin paper. That is exactly right. So don't complain is what I'm telling you. Do not complain.
I was in the paper industry. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we started out with the floppy disk and ended up with a flash drive.
That's exactly right. But we had to, our final version of our dissertations for any of the state schools had to be typed. We had to pay to have it typed on onion skin paper. And Paul can tell you, there is no correcting onion skin paper. If there's a mistake, you next page.
Throw it away.
Throw it away and start again.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah. And so trust me, it's a much better and easier process. The gateway now is can you write an APA 7? And once you learn that, your dissertation will be a breeze.
Thank y'all so much.
All right.
This has been a wonderful evening. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Good
Okay.
night.
See you on Tuesday.
May I ask Dion to stay just for a minute, please? Dion Lane, if you could stay just for a moment.
Okay.
I wrote you a private message, Dion, in the chat bar. Did you see it?
Yes, and no, I'm not sure who Boyd is.
Okay, so you are two separate people. Okay, all right.
You just have the
Thank
same
you.
spelling of name or something like that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed. Bye.
I have one quick question before we end. I just want to clarify. So it's okay if we use our school dashboard from like August to do that data, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
You'll be good. Thank you.
Hey, I have one quick question as well.
Okay.
I'm sure that I'm missing it, but can someone tell me on the NC report card how to find my student demographics? Because I've looked it up and down and I'm just not seeing it.
Okay, Dr. Hamilton, can you help her
I
with
would get,
that?
the report card's changed a little over the last few years.
I can't, we can't hear you, Dr. Hamilton.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
The
Yeah.
report card has changed a little over the last few years, and I'm not sure that it still has. I would get my student demographic data out of PowerSchool.
Okay, because I had my our data manager send it to me, but I wasn't sure how to reference that. So I can get it from PowerSchool then. That would probably be easier.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Joanne, if you need to ask a question, you're muted.
Sorry.
Okay.
A quick question for our agenda for our first PLC meeting. Can you tell me what some of the things that we should be on that agenda?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Give me just a second.
Sure.
And so for your first PLC meeting, you are simply going to
It's going to be a simple meeting, Jolene. It's not going to be an elaborate meeting the first time.
correct. You are going to establish your meeting norms and protocols. You are going to maybe assign roles. You are going to tell them perhaps what a PLC from your research is. You are going to I'm still looking, hold on. I just want to tell you,
You're going to thank them for serving on your, serving on your team.
introductions.
Yeah.
You're going to tell them what the mission is or vision, which is to examine student data and identify the most pressing need, those kinds of things.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you so much.
And it's probably described in the template. That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to open it.
But again, don't overthink the first meeting, okay?
Okay.
You're not collecting data yet. You're not determining a most pressing need. You're not doing any of these kinds of things at the first meeting.
And you may, Jolene, want to tell them at our next meeting, this is what we will begin looking at.
Okay.
You may tell them that.
Perfect.
Does that help?
It does tremendously.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay.
You.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, thank y'all so much. We're still recording, but thank y'all so much. Y'all did an excellent job. I think the students did phenomenal.
Well, they asked much deeper and more detailed questions than last semester.
Have a good night. Bye.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank y'all. Bye.